Okay, this is Tony, Fire Dude, back again with Big Lama Tech Tips Part 3. And in this video, we're going to go over chasing down vibrations, which always seems to be a problem with a lot of people. So I'm going to go over the basic stuff. One of the very first things you want to do when you start to fly is when you first start to fly and you lift your helicopter up and it has a real bad tail wag. That means your gain needs to be adjusted. If that tail's wagging back and forth real bad, you need to adjust the gain, and those directions come with the helicopter, and it's pretty straightforward. Also, once you're into a hover, if your helicopter's wanting to go, the nose is wanting to go right and left, right or left, you're going to need to adjust the proportional on the 3-in-1 controller, and that's pretty straightforward, and also tells you how to do it. And you make small adjustments, little at a time. Each adjustment you make, you disconnect the helicopter first, make the adjustment, turn your transmitter back on, plug the helicopter back in. Otherwise it will not remember the adjustment you just made. Remember, unplug the helicopter, turn your transmitter off, make those adjustments per the instructions that come with the helicopter for gain and proportional. Then turn your transmitter on first, then plug in the helicopter, let it cycle, get a green light, and try it again. And that pretty much explains it in the instruction manual that comes with the helicopter. Yeah, I'm going to go over some of the basic things here regarding vibrations and what to look for. One of the first things you want to do is make sure your blades are tracking properly. And I went through that in the other video, so you can go back to that video of mine, my first tech tip video, I believe. And your blades are tracking. You don't want a V when you see them. You want them tracking on the same plane. So if you see a V, you need to take this ball link right here, pop it off your blade grip, and take full complete twist, not just a half a turn. You need to go 1, 2. That's a complete turn, because the ball links only are supposed to go on a certain way. You take half a turn and it's not going to go on right. So anyway, that's in my other video that you can watch. But you want your blades, your upper blades, tracking right on, because if they're off tracking, you have a V, that's going to cause flight control issues, and it's also going to cause a lot of vibration. So it's real critical that you want to make sure your blades are tracking right on. Now the bottom blades generally don't need tracking much, but if you have to, you have your links that run between your lower blade grip and your swash plate. Those should be identical in length, and they'll come that way with the helicopter when you buy it. Now, if your blade tracking's off for some reason, you can adjust one link on one side, just like you do on the top, but you're going to need to take the same amount of turns on the other link on the other side, because they've got these two links have to be the same length. Generally, you won't have to mess around too much with the bottom blades. Generally, the blade tracking problem is going to be on the top. So okay, so you want to make sure your blade tracking's on. You also want to make sure your fly bar is not bent. Again, they're forgiving. If you fall over and you bump it or whatever, you can eyeball them and get them pretty straight and bend them. They're pretty forgiving. When in doubt, put a new one on, and in the meantime, in your spare time, you can sit there and monkey around with the bent one, try to get it as straight as possible. They're very forgiving. It's not extremely critical until you actually really bend one, because if you really bend it and it's out of alignment, it's going to cause vibration. So blade tracking, make sure your fly bar is straight, both this way. Look at it from different directions. 2 different directions, and make sure your fly bar is straight. You could have it level this way, but if you look at it from the top, it may not be level this way. So check it in both directions and make sure that it's level. The other thing that can cause bad vibrations is a bent shaft, either a bent outer shaft or the bent inner shaft, and that generally only happens if you have a crash. So you know, that would be quite apparent after a crash, not necessarily when it's brand new. So make sure your shafts aren't bent. It's always good to have a couple extra extended inner shafts and a couple outer shafts with the gears. They're very inexpensive. When you buy the extended inner shaft, it comes with the head and everything, and it's like $16. But you can buy just the shaft, the inner shaft itself that fits into the head, and that's the part that gets bent. You can buy that part for about $3. So yeah, I've stocked up and bought 3 or 4 of them just in case I ever need them. They're there. So if your shafts are bent, you're going to have vibration. Also, a lot of times you'll see vibrations in the canopy. And you know, a lot of times I'll get a minor tail vibration in the canopy, and I don't know what causes it, but it'll go away once I start applying. And then some days I don't even see it. So a real minor tail vibration in the canopy sometimes is normal. But I'm talking about when you get your whole canopy shaking and it's quite obvious that you've got a nasty vibration somewhere. Make sure you haven't lost any of your screws. There's 4 screws that hold your canopy on to the rubber tubing, the shoring tubing that goes on the shoring rods. So you're going to get some degree of vibration just from the nature of design. You got things spinning, motors running, vibration, and you're mounted on rubber tubing, so you're going to get a little bit of vibration, but I'm talking major vibrations. But just check your 4 screws, make sure they haven't backed out or fallen out, and if you take them out in and out several times, you'll probably have to replace that tubing, because those screws are like a self-tapping type screw. And after a while, you take them in and out so many times, the inside of that tubing will wear out and your threads won't hold, and you might lose a screw. Okay, so that's something to check there for vibration. Also, gear meshes, again, I mentioned it before, but gear meshes are extremely important. You want to make sure your gears are meshing properly, and like I say, you just need just a tiny bit of play. So if you hold your motor pinion, or hold the gear, however you want to do it, and wiggle it back and forth with the shaft, and watch where the gear and the pinion mesh. You want just a tiny bit of play in there. If it's tight, it's going to cause vibrations. It's going to cause premature motor wear and failure, and cause heat in the motor, and all kinds of problems. So you don't want it tight. You want a little tiny bit of play. If it's too much play, what you're going to do is you can start finding white fuzzies all over underneath under here, because if it's too loose, the brass pinion is going to start chewing away at the plastic gear. Or if it's the black stock gears, you're going to see the black, and if it's the white extreme gears, you'll see the white fuzzies. So make sure your gears are properly meshed with the motor pinions, and also make sure your motors, once you set the gear mesh, make sure your motor screws are tight. Because if they come loose and plight, your gear mesh is gonna get all out of whack, and you're gonna have all kinds of problems. Hopefully you won't fall out of the sky, and you just wind up with some major vibrations. So make sure your gear mesh is right and your motor screws are tight once you set the gear mesh. Now in the main bearings, let me grab this here. The main bearings on the helicopter go on the top and the bottom of the frame in here. The top, the bottom, and the top. Now, once those bearings go, which I've really never had any go, but if they do go, it's going to cause you vibration, because your shafts are going to wobble in there because the bearings have gone. And be careful when you change your bottom gears, because a lot of times that bearing will fall out and people don't catch it, and it falls on the floor. They put it all back together and they got this hell of a wobble in their shafts, which is going to cause more than just vibrations. You're not going to fly, but make sure that bottom bearing goes back in there. And also when you replace your stock, only stock gears, the upper gear, there's a side step lugen. It's a little washer with a raised edge. You can see it in the instructions. It's called a side step lugen with the raised edge facing up towards the bearing race. Make sure that's in there. Okay, now once you put in the extreme gears, you don't need that side step lugen, because the extreme gears have a raised area that takes the place of that side step lugen. But if that's missing, that's also going to cause you problems. So you want to check that. But the bearings very seldom go, but the big thing is don't lose that bearing out of the bottom when you change the top gear, because a lot of people, like I said, will forget to put it back in. They put everything back together and go through all that only to find out they got a big old wobble in the shaft and something's obviously not right. So you want to check that. Also, once you get everything put back together, take and hold the helicopter and pull up and down on your shaft. There should be no play at all. If there's play in that shaft, you don't have the bottom gear set right or top gear set right or something. There should be no play in that shaft. So when you put your gears on, pay close attention to make sure the grub screws go against a flat spot that's located on the inner shaft, and make sure they go all the way down and tighten them. You can use a tiny bit of Loctite. It doesn't take very much. If you use too much, you may have trouble getting that grub screw out and end up having to drill it out. Personally, I don't use Loctite. I just go pretty snug with them. I check them once in a while. I'm careful not to strip them out. You don't want to take a guy like me, 6'4", 220 pounds, and just hand crank that thing down, but you want it good and tight. So so that's the thing with the gears. You want no up and down play in the shaft at all. If you've got some, you don't have your gears set right down here somewhere, and you need to take it apart and find out where the problem is. And you want to go through your helicopter, you know, every now and then, pop the canopy off, make sure all your screws and everything are tight, because, you know, you get vibration over time, you're going to have some things come loose. You know, even your skid screws, you want to check them every now and then. Make sure. Now your servos, they're held on by double-sided tape. That's it. Yeah, and it's some strong stuff, and it's hard to get off. But what a lot of guys will do is on the underneath here, they'll run a tie strap around there and really tie these together and hold them really solid to the main frame of the helicopter. So those are the things that'll cause you vibrations. And then once you get into flying with a cam, you want as little as vibrations as possible. You've seen my flight videos, and my cams are pretty smooth. This ship has a few bit more vibrations than the other ship back there, and the reason being is this has stock gears, and the one back there that is virtually smooth and vibration free in the video has the extreme gears. It's not real bad. I did a video comparison and flew both ships today after I did some adjustments on the DX6i transmitter. But those are some of the things that you want to look for. You start from the bottom and go down. Yeah, make sure your 3-in-1 controller is all set up right from the very beginning. Check your fly bar, make sure it's not bent. Check your top blade tracking. Go back in my other video to make sure that you know, and make sure that you didn't lose a little bearing out of here. If you did, there's going to be a whole lot of slop in that shaft, and you're going to know it. But fly bar, make sure your shafts aren't bent or haven't been bent after a crash. Make sure everything's tight. You know, and your blade grips have 2 screws on each side. Make sure those haven't backed out. That's very rare. But if your blade grips get loose, that's going to cause vibration too. Now, all this stuff ties in together for vibrations, and you want to keep your vibrations down to a bare minimum. A lot of times the canopy vibrations, like I say, they'll disappear once you get into flight and start flying. Every now and then, like I said, you'll get a minor tail vibration, not a wag, but just a vibration. And a lot of times, you know, it'll vibrate a little bit, and then it'll go away. Some days I fly, it's not there. Some days it is there, but once I get the helicopter moving and start flying, it seems to go away. And it doesn't affect the cam, because remember, you're mounted on this, look at this, you're mounted on the rubber shoring tubing. So it's gonna, that rubber shoring tubing is gonna absorb some of that unknown minor vibration and won't affect your cam. So those are the things you want to check for vibrations. And again, your bearings, make sure they're all in good operating condition, and all your screws are tight, and let me look over my list here to make sure I didn't miss anything here. Looks like I got it, but those are the main things that are going to cause you vibration issues. And when you start filming and doing in-flight videos and things like that, you definitely want your helicopter's vibration free as possible. That's why my videos turn out so well. And in part, the type of mount that I do, that's very important. And I've also gone over that in one of my videos too. So you can go back and watch that. So it's when it comes to cam, it's a combination of the cam mount and the lack of vibrations. So those are the basic things that cause vibrations. A bad motor can also cause vibration. But generally, if you get a bad motor, you're going to know it, because you're going to have problems with your blade spinning, and you're going to have other flight control issues and throttle issues, and it's going to kind of lead you straight to the motors. But that's it on part 3 for chasing down vibrations. If you have any questions, again, you can go to our Facebook page, myself, Tony, or Rob, who goes by Spooner. We'll both monitor the page. We're more than happy to answer any questions. When you see the admin talking on their eSky Big Lama page, it could be either one of us, so don't think the admin of the page is talking to himself. There's 2 of us involved, myself and Spooner. So that's it on vibrations, and we'll see what we come up with the next tech tip. And if you guys have anything you want to see or know, post it in the comment sections in this post, and we'll see if we can't whip out a tech tip video on it for you. And that's it for this one, and thanks again for watching. And by the way, if these videos are doing you guys any good and you enjoy these videos, please click the like button on the video. It gives us a way of tracking whether we're doing you any good or not. It takes a lot of time to do these videos and figure out what you're going to do and tell people, and if nobody's watching them, or you don't feel they're worthwhile, or they're not doing any good, then we're certainly not going to continue to do the video. So just take a moment, press the like button. If you don't like it, press dislike. That's okay too. But we need to be able to measure our success in doing these videos, and if we're really offering something of value to all you folks out there. So anyway, enjoy your Big Llama, have fun with it, fly with it. They're a blast to fly, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.